Hello, it's AaronNet114 here with a video on Xbox One X. I bought this Xbox One X from my local game store here in Saint John New Brunswick from Beats Bytes. I paid $336.25 Canadian, and this is what I got. I got an Xbox that has 2 feet on the bottom, and it comes with a HDMI cord, comes with a controller and a power cord. The controller is a two-tone blue and white, and it appears to be in a new condition with even original batteries inside the controller, which is great, and it appears to be working even better. And as you see, there's like nothing in this port, so it's basically a new controller. So I did talk to the guys at the Beats Bytes, and they told me they clean their consoles out by not taking them apart, by just blowing compressed air with the automotive detailing tools they have. And I talked to the folks at GameStop, and they told me they take apart their recharge consoles completely, and they use genuine parts to repair them. But as we all know, they don't really do that. So we notice on the back of this console that the sticker is peeling. That means there's been some overheating issues, and the HDMI port is scratched up because people have been plugging and replugging in their HDMI cords, because this console has been a room hopper, or that poor console that goes from house to house with that guy. And yeah, and as you see back at the heatsink there, it's pretty clean, not much grime there. And fun fact, this console is just about 4 years old. Its manufacture date was January 27th, 2019, and so it can't be that bad. So we're going to take this apart and see what's inside. My video is only to be like do some general maintenance on here. I don't expect this to be a long video. I think it'd be like a half an hour at most, and just start taking it apart and just giving the components a clean over, wipe down. And I will take apart the fan and give it a really good once over, and that'll be it. And that's what I'm hoping for. So we're gonna take apart the Xbox. I start by taking off the 2 back screws, but I digress. So let's get started. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that this console appears to have never been opened. So this is a virgin console in that sense. Lucky me, get the honors. So we've got the first screw out. Now we're applying some isopropyl alcohol on this warranty sticker, which means nothing, but I still want to preserve it. And it's doing its job, and I'm just working it free with that slotted screwdriver I have on there now. Now I got the sticker off, and now I'm going to come back here with my pick and start backing out the screw. Now I can slide off that top case, and lift up and take away. Just like that. As you see, there is some dust there from them blowing out the console when they got it. Dust bunnies everywhere. It is what it is, and the disk tray filled is filthy dirty, along with the USB port on the front. I just released that flex cable there, clip there. So we got 3 brass screws on that daughter board. So this daughter board controls the eject, sync. No, that's not correct. So this daughter board controls the Wi-Fi and eject button, and the power on and the indicator that the console is powered on. Trying to work free that daughter board. I'll come back to that one later. This is my first time ever taking apart an Xbox One X, so I don't want to rush it, and I haven't even watched a teardown tutorial, so I'm diving into this one blind. So I'm just noticing right now that there is water damage on this Wi-Fi / Bluetooth daughter board, and I'm not really pleased about it. This means I overpaid on this console. Anyways, we'll see how much I overpaid when I fully take apart this console. So we're removing the daughter board off the front. And dusty, but no water damage, which is nice. Now I'm disconnecting the USB / sync button on the front of the console. So noticing with this console, there is no arrows or any indication where screws go on here. So that means Xbox's stance is if you open up our consoles, you should be well versed with our design and know where all the screws go, because we will not tell you. So that's why you see me here marking the screw and putting a dot where each of these color codes are put. So the ones I'm painting red are the brass screws with the rounded over panhead style ones. And these ones will hold or screw it into the top, which is the bottom of the board. So it will be the hard drive, power supply, and even some screws for the disk drive. The ones I'm painting black, they go through the console out the other side of the RF shielding, and they bind down to the bottom half of the case. So the silver ones that painted black are the long ones that bite into plastic, and the brass ones are short ones that bite into the plastic of the other components on the inner of the RF shielding. So, in saying this, technically that bottom case should come free, but I'm not going to push it because who knows what I missed. I'm going to start taking off the brass short ones that I painted red. It's always a good thing to keep your screws organized so you're not mixing them up or putting them places where they don't belong. With the Xbox, it's pretty easy to where the screws go. Otherwise, any other console, definitely keep track of where your screws go. The bottom case is pretty dusty, as it's been a well-used machine, it looks like. And you see me just marking up the two bottom ones. The two bottom ones are just two short screws. One's a silver pound head and one's a brass one. Very important where they go. And then saying this, I should be able to pull off the bottom half of the RF shielding, which is the top of the consoles, if that even makes sense to you. So what they did was Xbox has the fan sucking in the cool air under the console and venting it out the top, which is pretty smart for convection use. So it's able to grab that hot air also off the main board and also vent it out too. So you get pretty low temperatures and not an overheating console with a being that space is pretty tight in here because it has a power supply inside the console. And also what you see me here doing here is disconnecting the power and the SATA cables for the Xbox One X disk drive. Working on the hard drive. I'm just using a pig to release it. I don't want to pull too tight and rip the connector off the main board and pull the traces with it. So take your time. So I will be keeping the same 1 terabyte hard drive. It's only almost 4 years old, and now I'm going to work on the power supply. There is one screw still holding on that power supply. I never got that one, so I'm going to take off that screw. Screws out. Now I'm going to lift up on the fan shroud because that is where the power connection comes in on this console. which is pretty nice. And also what's pretty nice is you got 2 screw holes that holds down that power connector, so you know that power connection is never going to get loose on you. Now I got that power supply loose. It says 12 volts output. I forget what the amps are, but that means this machine, this power supply outputs 12 volts, and the console steps it down itself where it needs the 5-volt rails. I got the fan loose from the main board. Pretty dusty. And another piece of gasket paint material fall off here somewhere. I'll find a home for it later. Next is the X clamp on the bottom of this board. We have the 4 black screws there. So these black screws hold in the X clamp, which in itself it holds the main board, and also it goes through the heatsink. Now we got that RF shielding from the bottom release, and you got that thermal pad looking thing. Oh my golly, look at this. This is water damage, corrosion, and some calcium buildup. So as it stands right now, I really overpaid for this console. This thing is not worth $290 or $95. It's only worth $200 as it stands right now. Definitely overpaid. The thing is, when you buy a console from a game store, you're not sure what you're getting. All you know really is it turns on, supposedly. And I'm saying that because there is quite a bit of corrosion on this board. So right now you see me undo the X clamp. I got one side up. That was a fail. And no go on this one. Now it's off. I can release the heatsink and see what's going on. So it has this teal green, I'm not sure what to make of it. It looks like sticky tack. And this thermal sticky tack, that's what I'm calling this stuff. I may reuse it, but most likely not. I'm going to use thermal pads. So the thermal compound that was on the AP itself is completely dry. So this machine was overheating. So it's great to know that I got a at the end of its life Xbox One X, maybe. So you see me fiddling around with the disk drive power connection. A little bit of that sticky tack still there. Otherwise, besides the bottom view of this board looks pretty clean. The top view of this board, it's pretty corroded and dried out thermal compound on the IC of the APU, so which is not a thing you always want to see, but this is what I have, and I have to make the best of it. So I'm going to test, see if I use thermal pads, and do I have clearance for thermal pads. And the great news is, yes, I can use thermal pads, and that's what I will be using on these memory ICs for the APU. So next thing on the list is to take apart the fan. Or take off the 3 screws. Then we'll proceed to releasing that C-clip under that black sticker on the back side. And boy, oh boy, that's a dirty looking fan. So I did put some isopropyl alcohol on that black sticker to help loosen up the glue, which really did a good job as I'm cutting through that glue with that pick pretty easily. I'm going to use a slotted screwdriver to persuade that C-clamp to move out of position so I can release the fan. So with the C-clip out, I can release the fan from this housing, and there it is. So we got those nice shiny copper coils on the fan shroud itself, and now we're on to this power supply. I do have to admit, this power supply did not come apart very pretty, but luckily enough, I did not break any clips on this clamshell design, so maybe in the future companies can put where their locking clips are on their clamshell housing so we don't break the clips. Other gasket material fell off of here. Surprisingly, I haven't broken any clips, so that's a good sign. Now I've moved my way up to the pick. Now I'm adding a second pick. Hopefully that'll do better results. And as you see, I finally got the power supply open. And my golly, that was a chore on its own. Having to peek around, there's not much dust in here, which is a really good thing. I'm going to take my screwdriver and discharge the capacitor. And there's no charge, so it's safe to manhandle. Now I successfully ejected the power supply from its shell. Have a really good peek around, and it looks pretty clean, but you know what, I'll still give it a rinse over with the isopropyl alcohol just to make sure. Right now you see me rinsing down the bottom of the RF shielding for the main board, which is the top. It's pretty confusing, I know. Same goes for the fan shrouding housing. I do flush it out with isopropyl alcohol. And And now removing the sync button and / USB 3 port off the bottom half of the housing, and also the eject button. Just giving a quick rinse onto the disk drive itself, clean up that disgusting felt, giving a good wipe down, make sure I get all the sides and all that residue off of here, and same thing with our hard drive, because I only want to be in here once, not twice or 3 times. But to be honest with you folks, I will be coming back inside here again, but not like a full-blown take apart. It will be like take apart, modified, and then put back together. I'm gonna put RGB lights in here down the road, and also I open the bottom of the console and also the top to add some acrylic windows. And you see me scrubbing very, very hard to get all this dried up thermal compound off this APU. And it's very painfully slow going at this. Now you see me with a slotted tip on my screwdriver, working my way on the capacitors on the APU, getting off all that dried out thermal compound. It's quite the chore. To be honest, I didn't expect this to be this long of a video. I thought it'd be a very short one, but it turns out that Beats and Bytes sold me a interesting console that needed lots of love and attention. And if you use your wife's toothbrush, always make sure you replace it with a new one. And you see me scrubbing my heart out on the bottom of the board. And this is quite futile. It doesn't matter how hard I scrub, it doesn't make a difference. So right now you see me use a wire brush, a nylon brush on my Dremel tool. This is cutting up the calcium deposits on this board and getting rid of that corrosion at the same time. Well, it's not hurting the metal on the board at all. It's very safe to use on the board, non-abrasive to any components, and does not hurt anything on the board except for the calcium that's loose. And I don't have the RPM on that Dremel set very high. But it's working very well on this board. And also now you see me just nylon brushing the APU and the capacitors. Yes, nyloning this board with the Dremel made a really big difference with knocking off that calcium buildup and water damage, while not hurting the conformal layer on the board or any components too. Now I'm just putting back together the power supply. see me just wiping down the fan, also cleaning the fins in the fan, making sure that it's well clean. This is a very time consuming process with the towel and the screwdriver going through each fin. And I do switch it over to the Dremel, and it makes quick work of this job. I really do have to say this makes great quick work of this task. I will be using this Dremel and these brush attachments in the future when I buy new other consoles for fast cleaning. Because the fan blower looks like new, completely new now. All I have to do is shove that C-clip back in there and lock it in place, and it's good to go. I had to tighten it and straighten it out because when I did use that slotted screwdriver, it did kind of bend it up. Now with the C-clamp put back in place, I can spin the fan and it spins freely with no friction or anything like that. Now you see me put some isopropyl alcohol on the shroud, wipe it down, wipe off all that residue. And this fan and fan shroud is ready for installation back on the Xbox One X. Just have to make sure I put back the 3 screws. Just giving that bottom case a good wipe down. Clean out that USB port and also the sync button. Just installing that button back into that bottom case. And get this console back to and put back together. I am kind of like a clean freak. I'll make sure all the corners are clear dust. Just hooking up that eject button to the flex cable, and I'm going to pull that out and give that a wipe down because there is some of that spot cleaner solution on there. I don't want any more residues getting sucked up. Just putting that button there and the actual little circuit board there. It's all hooked up, pushing down on that adhesive. I don't think it's going to hold right now, but when it dries out more, it will hold again. Now with the bottom case fully assembled, I'll clean up the daughter board with that heavy water damage as best I can. And this will knock off that loose dust there, and it does a really good job breaking off that water damage. sure that it fits good and it won't interfere with anything there. Right now I'm wiping this down with isopropyl alcohol, wiping off all that residue, just making sure it's all clean for reassembly. So I'm scraping off the thermal compound with my fingernail because it's so dried out. Now I'm getting ready for reapplying thermal pads. And I'm using the Arctic Silver thermal pads. And this is for the bottom Xbox IC. I think this one controls the Xbox games, Xbox 360 games. So I'm just cutting these pads out on my paper cutter. Get a nice clean line there. And I just mark them out where they go. So this is just a test fit to make sure I will be using the thermal pads. I'm going to add one more. So I'm definitely using thermal pads now. The second test was really good. So the third test was like fully cement this idea. you see me placing on all the thermal pads, and I put some on those inverter or diode, I'm not sure. So I am decided to use that thermal sticky tack on those inverter side. Now I'll apply some MX4 Arctic Silver thermal compound. And I use this stuff on everything. Just gonna apply it onto the APU. Get a nice evenly coating there. And the other thermal pad is stuck onto the heatsink itself, so it's not missing. Now we'll bend back the tabs on the X clamp and reinstall it. Now put back on the fan shroud, and also we can stick on the daughter board for the Wi-Fi antenna and also the Bluetooth antenna. Now we can fully seat the fan and hook up the connection and hard drive. Just switching over the power connection to the right way on the disk drive. The disk drive has to be installed first before you put your power supply in. But leave the disk drive fully. Leave it up, sticking up a bit, because it's like a sandwich. It has to go together just at a certain time of reassembling this console. And you see me sticking back on this gasket material. Got the fan reconnected again and got the hard drive and power supply put back in their places respectively. Just have to deal with the fan shroud because its power connector is not sitting where it belongs. There we go. That's put back together. Pushing down on that gasket material and putting this RF shielding back in place. And now we can start by putting in the 2 screws. So I'm going to put the red dot screw where the red dot screw goes, and also the silver short one goes where the black dot goes. Now we're on the other side of the console and putting in all the screws. With the X-clamp back screwed on, we can mount this daughter board back to its flex cable and drape it over the front of the Xbox One X and have it ready for reassembly. Just like that. And we can put the Xbox One X back in its housing on the bottom case. Attach the there we go. Attach the daughter board, and we can put the 3 bronze or brass screws back in the daughter board. And as you already noticed, I already plugged in the flex cable before I put the console back in its case. Now we're just connecting the sync/USB 3.0 port. And now we're left with the long black screws that screw into the bottom of the shell. and just going over them and give them a little torque down. And there we go. Put the 2 screws in on the bottom of the case, and we are going to power this Xbox on for the first time since I refurbished it myself. Now we're back in the gaming room, ready to test out this Xbox One X. This is my setup I have here. So we're going to turn this Xbox One X on for its first time since I bought it. I deep cleaned it and I removed the water damage on the main board as best I could. So let's boot this thing on. Controller that came with it, it's on. She works. I'll get some gameplay on the video caption card. So right now we're doing some gameplay of this Xbox One. Just want to stress test this console. I only have this game here with this Xbox. It's an Xbox One game. Her Forza Horizon 2. And as you see, I'm a pretty good driver, you know. I think I should start driving for long haul trucks, you know. And I did game test this for at least an hour and a half. Stress test this console for an hour and a half. Got the heatsink nice and warm and heat soaked, so we can see if the fan would spool up. And see if there's any other hidden issues with this Xbox besides being swimming with the fishes. So right now I'm looking at the back of the Xbox One X. There's no fan noise at all. She quiet. That's how it should look. Like nothing. When I bought this machine, it should have had nothing inside here at all. It should have been. There's a little bit of dust in there. I'm sorry. Should have been clean. I'm not saying this is a bad buy for $250, but for $339, she should be perfect. Like, hey, sorry, my cat just talking to the spirits. So it should have been perfect. So yeah. Yeah. Anyways. It's my new daily driver, Xbox One X. So Beats Bytes, you did okay. Not impressed at the price for what I got inside, you know. It was a little bit dirty. You guys really blew it out really good for the... You really blew out all the dust bunnies, mostly. Except the ones you couldn't get to. But otherwise, pretty good console. This one had water damage. So, not sure how long this one will last, but it's okay. Anyways, this is AaronNet 114 signing off.